Hey all, it's Vanessa. All right, so I noticed my last video was cut off, so I just wanted to continue. I apologize about the way that I look, because it's Sunday. That's about all that I got. It's been a weekend already, and I haven't been able to do a lot that I wanted to do. All right, so continuing on. So on Oprah, so this is from what is that called? Quackwatch.org about attachment therapy for reactive attachment disorder and reactive attachment disorder in adults. All right, so they said that on the Oprah show they're demonstrating this thing, and they're people are noticing that the therapist is telling the child why they're mad. And again, like, this is one of those things that I don't disagree with. I don't disagree with it because I've seen adults who have had reactive attachment disorder, and they are so used to being belittled and having no voice that you have to tell them and remind them why they might be upset. And I don't mean saying, hey, you're upset because your mother never paid attention to you. It's a question. Like, remember, or even a direction. Remember, you're upset because your mom never paid attention to you. Your dad wasn't around, and like, so I just, like, I have a couple of clients in mind, and I know that when I've said anything about, okay, you've been angry in the past, like, what, just like, talk about that, they belittle it. They like minimize it completely. It wasn't as bad as other people. Oh, like, yeah, my mom wasn't a great person to me, but like, at least she was around. Those type of things, because they're so used to being in a household where feelings aren't okay. You're not allowed to be mad at that. You're not allowed to be mad that you don't have food today. You can't do anything about it. I can't do anything about it. You can't be mad about it. And so it's a lot of, stifling all of their feelings. And so I can see very well as a therapist being like, but aren't you mad? But aren't you mad that your dad wasn't around? Aren't you mad that, there wasn't any food in the house and you had to do A, B, and C? Those type of things. Like, I can totally see that as like feeding someone to like kind of make sure that they can express it. So one of the things also on Quackwatch was that there's little research, and I'm kind of like, that's how this works. Psychology is not a hard science. If A always equals B, then we wouldn't have different theories. We wouldn't be creating other theories, and we wouldn't be working with people, because people would just be, oh, input A, here's the outcome, and that's not how people work. And I do have to say here that evidence-based is not any better, because when you have evidence-based and you are researching things, DBT, CBT, EMDR, all of these things that have been researched, even yoga therapy now, it's not better. The research ends up being something like, and I think I've seen this for CBT, 10 weeks with this specific population in this specific place with this specific amount of people. So 10 weeks for an intensive outpatient, one intensive outpatient program with people with eating disorders. And that's what they base this evidence on, right? Or IOP for people who have depression, but that IOP was only in Iowa, but it showed that there was a positive correlation for people who are depressed. There was also that other one that, like, there was a grant through the government for people to like to research multifamily systems theory or something like that. oh my gosh, like everyone got trained in that for like 2 years, and then and that was evidence-based. That was evidence-based. And I'm just like, but even though that like money came from the government, where did the government get the money for that? I'm pretty sure it was I would guess that there was some, like, that it was from a company who was trying to push this, because that was everywhere for so long. Um, yeah, it was so crazy. And now you barely hear about it. It's not really a thing anymore. And, I know I've looked this up before, and on their website, they're like, and we're research based. Yeah, because you paid for it. Like, you gave out grants for this. You can say that it works, but I'm not convinced, because I'm just not. You would have to show me a lot of like consistent evidence with a general population, and not just DCF clients, facility clients in Connecticut, you know. So another thing that Quackwatch pointed out was that there have been people who have tried techniques from attachment theory, and one of them was a rebirthing process which suffocated a child, and that ended up in the death of that child. The person who I think it was the mom and the therapist who were watching over this, or they were like participating in it, were both sent to jail for negligence. And I'm like, yeah, that's like this other stuff that like is definitely a part of the theory. Like, this doesn't feel like part of the theory, because it's like it's almost like a one-off, like weird, like, oh, they tried a technique. Okay, that oh god, that doesn't sound right. Because like I have a feeling like if that was a general technique that was used often, that either other people are paying attention to when a child is saying, I'm suffocating, I can't breathe, or it is not a common technique for this theory. But it is sad. And I don't think that it's appropriate, obviously. So I also want to point out that sometimes looking at the developers of these theories, they're all crazy. I can't tell you how many that I'm just like, oh, like the theory is like, they're like, oh my God, these people like developed this theory, especially in the DBT community. They're very about, oh my God, Marsha Linehan like did this whole thing. It was just so amazing. And I mean, there's just a lot of people who just flock to that. And it's almost like they become saints to the therapy field, and that you can't criticize them. But, like, I don't like the DBT theory, because it's a lot of just straight up, like I have looked into just like, precursory like research, and it usually includes something flowery that I'm like, that's not something I would want in therapy. And a lot of acronyms like, oh, did you stop? Did you halt? Did you flowers? Did you, and it's like, oh God, I think that I would just get stuck on these acronyms and just then never remember what they actually mean. I'd be like, I know flowers, I have to do flowers. And then just like end up being like, I don't know what that actually means. I don't know. And I've seen her talk. And she said something that I was like, oh my God, you just said that. And I think she thought that was going to be edited out, but it was a TED talk, so it stayed in. And it was something to the effect of, other therapists don't do what we do, like some high and mighty BS that I'm like, that's not the way that you should respond to people. Anyway, so really, the issue here with attachment theory is that, like, there has to be at some point some attachment to anyone. And this is not attachment theory for therapy. This is like general therapy for someone who has reactive attachment disorder as an adult, there has to be someone who they attach to. It's vital, because of all of the trauma, of all of the stuff that's going on, they really do have to find someone who's stable enough that can handle them and their emotions and their, kind of, I want to be here, I don't want to be here, I want this connection, this is scary, this is vulnerable, I don't want to be here type of stuff, that they can eventually kind of move through having the issues with attachment, right? And for some people, it's their therapist. I know for one of my clients, it's definitely me. For other clients, it's any long-term friend. It's, it's all sorts of different things. And I'm also thinking of, and most of the people who I've counseled who I suspect have adult reactive attachment disorder have had a lot of jobs. And I think it's their problem with connecting to people that creates the problems on the the work sites, at the jobs, that they aren't able to really go forward. And one of my clients has moved so many times. It's amazing. Like, it's just, and actually the other one too, one of the other ones too, like, they just like, oh, some stuff is here, some stuff is here. I can get my car and, drive off and not worry about any of this stuff, because they don't have that connection. They don't have the solid connection. Like, they don't usually know their neighbors. They don't, and if they do, then there's some issue at some point because of the vulnerability, or because the other person isn't a perfect person, or whatever it is. They just, they end up disconnecting, and it's easy for them. So, like, I can see where this would relate to autism, and like kind of screening out that from autism, screening out from depressive behaviors, from dysthymia, from these type of things. But for me, they go hand in hand with childhood trauma, and how that kind of relates to how they relate to people. It is something that people definitely, who have been adopted, who have been through the foster care system, they have to really understand as far as what's going on for them, and what they might expect. And I do suspect that a couple of the people who I've counseled about this might have had personality disorders. But I don't think that it's narcissism necessarily, or antisocial personality disorder, or anything like that. Like, there is like dependent personality disorder. There is, there's another one that's like not dependent. It's like not anti-dependent, but it's like, it's something else, where they're like, oh, avoidant personality disorder, where it's just avoid, like to a problem, to a point of a problem besides trauma. And so, I think it is important for people, especially if they've been adopted or been through the foster care system, to make themselves aware of how this might happen, and that having a therapist that they really like, that they can connect to, is important in their recovery, because of what is that called? The transference. Seeing an authority figure, but seeing them be kind, and seeing them care about you, and like that type of stuff can very much heal up some of the hole that has been left by parents who don't care, parents who are neglectful, a system that has left them without much stability in their life. So I hope that was helpful for you, and I'm gonna film a couple more of these and hopefully post them throughout the next couple of weeks. All right, thank you so much for liking and sharing and commenting. It is really awesome, and I'm so glad to have this community. All right, thanks so much.